yeah, a question I'd like to start with. If you could travel back in time and stay there, would you go back 1,000 years from now?
No, I wouldn't.
No?
But I can see where the question comes from.
Yeah.
No,
well,
I wouldn't. Maybe for a visit.
Just for a visit?
Yeah, maybe for a small visit.
Okay, but you take inspiration then back from 1,000 years to now. That's
Yeah, I just, I think it's, I'm not really the kind of guy that is extremely nostalgic. I don't look backwards at all, really. Some people might think I do, but I really don't. I look ahead of time. I look to the future. I think that's more fun.
Okay, because you're interested in history then,
right.
I think. How interesting is this time now, do you think?
Oh, obviously there is so much going on at the present. I think there is no silent corner anywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. And I just find right now there's so many sources of inspiration, especially when it comes to writing lyrics, of course. And since Unleashed is a band that's always been writing lyrics about the past, present, and the future, yeah. We do a lot of lyrics about rebellion against injustice, yeah. and things that are unjust. And I think obviously then we have a lot of inspirational sources from lots of different corners of the world. So. And
maybe if I can ask something about that, what is now your biggest anger to something that is unjust right now in this moment?
Oh, I would easily say, obviously, since where I come from in Sweden, we have a government right now that I am not very pleased with. I think that they are way out of line in some certain respects. Uh-huh. I don't like their social policy at all. I think they're too right wing. But I guess what it all comes down to is that you can't really do much more than vote. I mean, in democracy, that's what you do, obviously. But I think it's important in between the elections to move ahead and really try to make a point out of things that are not really correct, things that are unjust, and things that are not good enough. I think we can do a lot better. If you look at the world today, even in Sweden, and not just in the United States where they do have a lot of social problems, but if you look at like Sweden, for example, there are people living in the streets there as well. We didn't see that 20 years ago. There was nobody living in the street 20 years ago. Why is it that a democracy had people living in the streets? That's ridiculous. There are enough money in a country like Sweden, and in Holland, and in Germany, in all countries. There should be no people living in the street. It's stupid, and there's no reason for it. And these are the type of things that are not, they're just not, it's not fair. And so there's a lot to rebel against. There's a lot to write lyrics about. Mm-hmm. And some of those institutions, some of those really old institutions that have a lot of power, a lot of political power, they're just made for the past. Yeah. They're not made for 2008, and they're certainly not made for 2009. And they need to reform.
Do you think there's this kind of tendency in Sweden now that there is things about to change, or?
I don't think it's about to change. Right now, I think it's going the other direction, and that worries me. That worries me a lot, and I think that's.
Why do you think that is now? Because Scandinavia has the reputation of always being the first class place to live, and
I agree about that, but that's not all correct. Mm-hmm. The problem is it probably looks like that if you compare to some places in the world where things are really, really bad. Mm-hmm. But then in the past 10, 15 years, things have started to change also in Scandinavia. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to talk for Denmark or Norway and Finland because I don't live there, but I live in Sweden, and like you said, a lot of people that I meet in the rest of the world, they think of Sweden as a good example. And it has been that way for many years, but now it's going the other way around, and I see that every day in Stockholm. I see that in many cities, especially in Stockholm because it's the biggest city. Yeah. And that worries me. I think it's the wrong direction, and there is enough money and capital in Sweden to make everybody a little bit, at least to a decent level. Mm-hmm.